The confetti settled on the polished hardwood floor like colorful, broken promises. The room was utterly silent. My husband, the man I had loved for 5 years, was staring at the manila envelope in his shaking hands. His face was drained of all color. Beside him, his sister, the woman who had called me bitchy just weeks ago, was trembling, her smug grin replaced by a mask of pure horror. "Read it aloud." My voice was a low, terrifying whisper that echoed in the quiet room. "Read the results, David. Tell your family exactly who the father is." And then, read the next page. This wasn't just a gender reveal party anymore. It was an execution. The first 5 years of our marriage were a carefully constructed masterpiece of domestic tranquility. We built our lives together, brick by brick, day by day. David was 36, established in his career, and I was 30, ready to start the family we had always dreamed of. We had the house with the wraparound porch. We had the stable incomes. We had the kind of love that made our friends envious, a steady, comforting warmth that I foolishly believed was indestructible. For the last 2 years, our sole focus had been bringing a child into this perfect world. This baby was not an accident. This baby was a wish, whispered into the dark every single night. I tracked my basal body temperature with religious devotion. I took ovulation tests that lined our bathroom counter like tiny, hopeful soldiers. We followed doctor's orders, changed our diets, and sacrificed our spontaneous weekends for scheduled intimacy. The journey was exhausting, a quiet, isolating battle that only the two of us truly understood. When those 2 pink lines finally appeared, I fell to my knees on the cold tile of the bathroom floor and wept. It was a Tuesday morning. The sunlight filtered through the frosted glass, casting a halo around the tiny plastic stick. David held me, his tears mixing with mine, promising me that he would be the best father in the world. He kissed my forehead, kissed my stomach, and swore that our family was finally complete. For the first 4 months of my pregnancy, I lived in a state of euphoric exhaustion. The morning sickness was brutal, tearing through my body and leaving me weak, but I welcomed every wave of nausea as a sign of life. I was carrying our miracle. I spent my evenings browsing nursery furniture online, imagining the soft hues of sage green and cream that would surround our child. I rubbed cocoa butter on my expanding belly, talking to the tiny life growing inside me. David played the part of the doting husband flawlessly. He brought me ginger ale in the middle of the night. He rubbed my aching back. He listened to the erratic, rapid thumping of the baby's heartbeat on the Doppler with awe. I felt safe. I felt cherished. I believed, with every fiber of my being, that I was the luckiest woman alive. The rhythm of our days was slow, methodical, and deeply comforting. We spent our weekends walking through the park, holding hands, discussing baby names and college funds. I gave up my body, my sleep, and my comfort for this child, and I did it with a heart overflowing with joy. There was no shadow of doubt in my mind. There was no crack in our foundation. Or so I thought. I didn't realize that the peace was merely a heavy, suffocating blanket, hiding a rot that was spreading beneath the floorboards of our marriage. I was busy building a sanctuary. David was busy planting a bomb. The serene, beautiful world I had sacrificed so much to create was nothing but a fragile glass house, waiting for a single stone to shatter it all. It happened on a Wednesday evening. The air in the kitchen was thick with the scent of roasted chicken and rosemary. I was standing by the sink, humming a soft lullaby, washing the dinner plates. David was sitting at the island, his fingers tracing the rim of his water glass. "We need to talk." 4 words. 4 simple, ordinary words that somehow carried the weight of a death sentence. I turned off the faucet. The sudden silence in the room was deafening. I wiped my hands on a towel, a strange, icy knot tightening in my stomach. "I want a paternity test." The world stopped spinning. The air vanished from my lungs. A paternity test. My brain scrambled to process the syllables. Why? How? What? I stared at him, waiting for the punchline, waiting for the smile, waiting for the cruel joke to end. But his face was blank, cold, detached. "What?" My voice was a pathetic, breathless squeak. "Does he think I'm cheating?" I asked myself. I asked him. He shook his head slowly. No, I don't think you cheated. Then explain to me, David, how the baby could possibly not be yours if I am not cheating, and you are the only person I have been with. He looked away. He stared at the granite countertop. He had no answer. Silence. Heavy, suffocating, agonizing silence. I was a wreck. For 3 days, I could barely eat. I cried until my eyes were swollen shut. The betrayal felt physical, a sharp, jagged knife twisting in my chest. I scoured my memory, searching for anything I might have done to trigger this insane paranoia. There was nothing. I was a loyal, devoted wife carrying a planned child. Once the initial shock wore off, the grief curdled into something else. It hardened. It turned to ice. I approached him in the living room, my voice steady, my eyes completely dry. If you want the test, you can schedule it. You find the clinic. You make the appointment. You tell me when and where to show up. I will take the test. I thought that would be the end of it. I thought my absolute willingness would snap him out of his delusion. Instead, the pathetic reality of the man I married revealed itself. Can you make the appointment? He actually asked me that. The sheer, unadulterated audacity. No. You are the one questioning the paternity. You can do the work. He stammered. He backpedaled. He claimed he wasn't questioning paternity, he just wanted reassurance. The word made me sick. I told him I didn't care about his excuses anymore. If he wanted reassurance, he could handle the logistics. I walked away. A week passed. 7 days of toxic, unbearable tension. He asked me to find a phone number for him. I refused. I asked him if he made the appointment. I'm working on it. Weaponized incompetence. He was too cowardly to follow through, but cruel enough to leave the doubt hanging over my head. Then came the morning his sister, Sarah, let herself into our house. David had just left for work. She marched into my kitchen, her heels clicking aggressively on the floorboards, her arms crossed over her chest. David told me everything. Her voice was dripping with condescension. She looked at my pregnant belly with utter disdain. You need to just put him out of his misery and schedule the test yourself. Stop being difficult. I stared at her. The audacity ran in the family. I will take the test. He just has to make the appointment. Sarah scoffed, rolling her eyes violently. God, you are being so bitchy about this. Just do it yourself. I did not raise my voice. I did not blink. I am not the one who questioned who the father is. I have not betrayed his trust. I will not do the legwork for an insult I did not ask for. Get out of my house. She left, slamming the door behind her. The house was quiet again, but the pieces of the puzzle were starting to form a terrifying picture. Why was Sarah involved? Why was David stalling? The doubt wasn't just paranoia. There was a reason, and I was going to find out exactly what it was. The need to know consumed me. It was a dark, relentless hunger gnawing at the edges of my sanity. Normal people don't ask for paternity tests while simultaneously begging their pregnant wives to schedule it. Normal people don't send their vicious sisters to do their dirty work. There was a missing variable in this horrific equation. I waited until midnight. The house was completely silent, save for the rhythmic, oblivious snoring of the stranger sleeping beside me. I slipped out of bed, my bare feet making no sound on the carpet. I walked into his home office. The moonlight sliced through the blinds, illuminating his laptop. He thought he was smart. He thought changing his phone passcode was enough. But he had forgotten about his old iPad, tucked away in the bottom drawer of his desk, still synced to his iMessage cloud. I powered it on. The screen glowed, a harsh, unforgiving light in the darkness. My hands were shaking so violently, I could barely tap the messages icon. I clicked on his thread with Sarah. The words on the screen blurred as tears filled my eyes, but I forced myself to focus. I forced myself to read every single syllable. Sarah, did you ask her yet? David, yes. It was awful. She's devastated. Sarah, good. You need to push this. If you're going to get out of the marriage without losing half your assets, we need to prove she's unstable or unfaithful. The prenup loophole only works if she breaches the moral clause. David, I know. But she said she'll take the test. She just wants me to schedule it. Sarah. Then fake a result. Or just keep gaslighting her until she cracks and files for divorce first. You can't let her have this baby and think she's locking you down. My heart stopped. I couldn't breathe. I scrolled up, higher, deeper into the abyss of his betrayal. And then, I found the true catalyst. A hidden folder, a separate messaging app. A woman named Chloe. Chloe, the clinic confirmed it. I'm 8 weeks pregnant. David. Oh my God. What are we going to do? My wife is 4 months along. If this gets out, I am ruined. Chloe. You promised you would leave her, David. You promised. David. I will. I'm talking to my lawyer. My sister is helping me build a narrative. We're going to make her look crazy. We're demanding a paternity test to throw her off balance. The iPad slipped from my fingers, landing softly on the rug. I couldn't scream. The pain was too vast, too absolute, to be contained in a sound. He wasn't just a coward. He was a monster. He was having an affair. He had gotten his mistress pregnant. And to protect his money, to protect his image, he and his wretched sister were trying to psychologically destroy a pregnant woman. He was projecting his own filthy infidelity onto me, using our unborn child as a weapon to drive me insane. I fell to the floor. I curled into a ball, clutching my stomach. Shattered. The world broke. Everything was a lie. The nursery, the kisses, the future, all of it, dead. I lay on that cold hardwood floor for 3 hours. I let the grief wash over me in agonizing waves. I mourned the husband I thought I had. I mourned the family my child would never know. I let myself break into 1,000 irreparable pieces. But when the first ray of dawn broke through the window, striking my face with cold, harsh light, the tears stopped. The sadness evaporated, replaced by something much darker, much colder. I stood up. I wiped my face. I looked at the glowing screen of the iPad. I didn't feel like a victim anymore. I felt like a judge. And a jury. They wanted a narrative? I would give them a tragedy. The transformation was absolute. I walked out of that office not as a grieving wife, but as an architect of ruin. The morning sun felt different now. It wasn't a symbol of warmth, but a spotlight for the theater I was about to direct. I made breakfast. Eggs, bacon, toast. The smell drifted upstairs, drawing the traitor out of his bed. David walked into the kitchen, rubbing his eyes, completely unaware that he was looking at a woman who had already buried him in her mind. Good morning. My voice was smooth. Sweet, lethal. Morning, he mumbled, kissing my cheek. I suppressed the violent urge to scrub my skin with bleach. I've been thinking, I said gently, placing the plate in front of him. You've been so stressed at work. I don't want to fight anymore. Take your time finding a clinic for the test. We have months before the baby comes. Let's just focus on the gender reveal party next week. Relief washed over his face. He smiled, thinking he had won. Thinking I was submitting. Thank you, honey. I really appreciate that. He had no idea. The next 2 weeks were a masterclass in deception. While David went to work and presumably to Chloe's bed, I went to war. My first stop was the office of the most ruthless, expensive divorce attorney in the city, a woman known for leaving cheating husbands completely destitute. I handed her screenshots of every single message between David, Sarah, and Chloe. I handed her our financial records. I handed her the prenuptial agreement they thought they could manipulate. My lawyer smiled. A terrifying, beautiful smile. We're going to take everything, she whispered. My second stop was a private genetic testing facility. I didn't need David to schedule the appointment. I had already collected a swab from the inside of his cheek while he was passed out drunk 2 nights ago. I paid for the expedited, legally binding, gold standard paternity test myself. I wanted the paper. I wanted the absolute, scientific proof of my fidelity to use as the final nail in his coffin. I spent my evenings planning the gender reveal party. I invited his parents. I invited his aunts and uncles. I made sure Sarah had a front row seat. I hired a caterer. I bought a spectacular, elegant dress that accentuated my pregnant belly. I was glowing. People thought it was the miracle of life. It was the thrill of impending vengeance. Every night, David would come home and pat my stomach. He would talk to his family on the phone, spinning his web of lies, playing the victim. I listened from the top of the stairs, recording his conversations. I gathered every asset, secured every bank account, and locked down my credit. I was a ghost, haunting my own life. I smiled at his jokes. I folded his laundry. I watched him sleep. And in my head, I counted down the hours. The trap was fully set. The bait was taken. The audience was assembled. All that was left was for the curtain to rise. They thought they were coming to celebrate the gender of a baby. They were coming to witness an execution. The backyard was decorated in opulent shades of gold and white. Champagne glasses clinked. Laughter drifted over the manicured lawn. David's entire family was there, buzzing with excitement. Sarah stood near the dessert table, sipping her drink, shooting me condescending, triumphant glares. She thought she had broken me. She thought I was just a pathetic, compliant incubator. David stood beside me, his arm wrapped tightly around my waist, playing the role of the devoted patriarch for the cameras. Attention, everyone. David tapped his glass with a silver spoon. The crowd quieted down, turning their eager faces toward us. Thank you all for coming. We are so thrilled to finally share this moment with you. My beautiful wife has a special box prepared. Inside is the answer we've all been waiting for. I stepped forward. I held a large, beautifully wrapped gift box. A profound, terrifying calm washed over me. I looked at David. I looked at Sarah. I looked at his parents. Before we open this, I began. My voice amplified by the quiet anticipation of the crowd. David recently asked me for a paternity test. A collective gasp rippled through the guests. David's arm dropped from my waist. His face froze. Sarah spilled her champagne. He told me he just wanted reassurance. His sister, Sarah, told me I was being a bitch for not scheduling it myself. So, I took her advice. I scheduled it. I paid for it. And the results are in this box. I pulled the ribbon. The box fell open. Inside was a stack of thick manila envelopes. I handed the first one to David. My hands were perfectly steady. My voice dropped an octave. The slow, soothing rhythm was gone. Read the results, David. Tell your family exactly who the father is. His hands were violently shaking. He pulled out the paper. He couldn't speak. His lips moved, but no sound came out. 99.9%. You are the father. I turned to the crowd. But that's not the only reveal today. I pulled out the second envelope. I handed it to his mother. This is a transcript. These are messages between my husband and his mistress, Chloe. Chloe is 8 weeks pregnant. David demanded a paternity test from me to cover up his own filthy affair. Chaos erupted. His mother screamed. His father lunged forward. Sarah tried to run. Stop right there, Sarah. I pointed directly at her. Envelope number 3. Messages between David and his sister. Sarah knew about the affair. Sarah helped him plan to gaslight a pregnant woman to secure his money. She is a co-conspirator in the abuse of her own unborn niece or nephew. The silence that followed was apocalyptic. The absolute destruction of a family's reputation, happening in real time, under the bright afternoon sun. David dropped to his knees right there on the grass. He reached for my hand, tears streaming down his face, babbling apologies. I stepped back. I looked down at him with nothing but disgust. Get away from me. I pulled the final envelope from the box and threw it directly into his face. The papers scattered across the lawn. Those are divorce papers. You wanted to protect your assets. My lawyer already froze them. You wanted to be free? You are free. I am leaving. You will never see this child. You will pay child support until you bleed. And every single person in this city will know exactly what you are. I didn't wait for a response. I didn't wait for the screaming to resume. I turned my back on the wreckage of my marriage. I walked out of the backyard, through the house, and out the front door, where a black car was already waiting for me. I climbed inside. I touched my stomach. The baby kicked, strong and full of life. I smiled. We were finally safe.